Islam. If there is anything lovely, if there is anything desirable, if there is anything within the reach of man that is worthy of praise, is it not knowledge? And yet, who is it that obtaineth it? The statesman proclaimeth that he have it. The ruler of the people claimeth the praise of it, but find it the subject that he possesses it. Evil is not reckoned that the man, neither vice can be necessary to be tolerated. Yet how many evils are committed by the convenience of the laws? How many crimes committed by the decree of the council? But be wise, O rulers, and learn, O thou that art to command the nations. One crime authorized by thee is worse than the escape of 10 from punishment. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise, walking in Jerusalem, just like John, giving praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the one who stretches forth the heaven with his hands, who have described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who set it bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass, and said to the stormy winds, be still. I'd like to give on to the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star, talking about none other than our holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give on to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who reached down into the watery grave of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harmed to set you and me back upright on our feet again. I'd like to give on to all of those and on to all of you that have and will aid and assist us in this, our divine and gigantic mission, the uplifting of fallen humanity. And last but not least, I'd like to give a special honor to effort, because so many of us don't even try. I remember I was reading a lesson, and this lesson was talking about Jesus and the Last Supper. And when they said that Jesus was talking to his disciples at the Last Supper, what did he feed them? He fed them food for thought. So this afternoon, I'd like to talk to you about some food for thought. I'd like to talk to you about the last prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. A lot of people talk about prophets, and a lot of people talk about seers. So what I want to do this afternoon is I want to talk about Noble Drew Ali. I want to talk about Noble Drew Ali because Noble Drew Ali have done something for you and me that nobody else have. And before I get into that, I'd like to say we're in February now. Last month was January. And we know that January the 8th was the birth of the Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, who was the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So I'm going to start off and talk to you a little bit about the Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And the reason why I want to do that is because Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to those of African descent something that nobody else did. And what was that? Nationality. Everybody have a nationality. Everybody. Everybody on this topside planet mud have a nationality. The only people that don't have a nationality is those of African descent. And I want to get into this today because I want to talk to you. I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to talk about because Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913 AD in Newark, New Jersey, for the express and profound purpose of uplifting fallen humanity, teaching those things necessary to make our members better citizens. So now let's get into this. Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913 AD. And he found the Moorish Science Temple to redeem our people from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Now let's start right here. In 711, now let's go back to history. I'm not talking about his story, I'm talking about facts. In 711, the Moors, we went into Spain. And we stayed in Spain from 711 to 1492. Now we know 1492 and 8 years after 1492, this is when the European nations took charge. They took charge 8 years after 1492. And when they took charge, this is when Christianity got its rise. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about this because we just had the prophet's birthday. We just had the prophet's birthday on January the 8th, and our new year was January the 15th. So Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth by the great God Allah to warn us and to redeem us from our sinful ways. And what did he come to warn us of? The great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. I'm going to start out right now. And I want to go back a little bit to my age group because I'm in my 70s. And I remember when I first started school. When I first started elementary school, we was taught something. We was taught that we was not Negro, we was not colored, nor we was not black. And a lot of people that I know, they was not given these same lessons. I have friends of mine that come from North Carolina. I have friends of mine that come from South Carolina. And when they came from North Carolina and South Carolina, the things that they learned in North Carolina and South Carolina was not the same thing that they was learnt in Washington, D.C. The same thing. I have friends of mine that came from the South. And when they came from the South, they might have been in the 6th grade. But when they got to Washington, D.C., they was put back 2 grades because they say those that come from the South does not have the same mindset of those that was born in the District of Columbia. So that part was a part of my 2 friends. So this is what I want to talk to you about this evening because it's a strain. It's a sin. That's why I say through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their mothers and fathers and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of. So now let me start here because I'm going to bounce back because I said that our holiday was January the 8th through the 15th. And a few weeks ago, we had what is known as civil rights. They say because this is when Martin Luther King was born, but they say civil rights is an issue that we need to deal with. But Drew Ali told me something different. He said there's one supreme issue that our people need to use to redeem that which was lost. So now if we had to do that, and we talking about civil rights is a non-political issue. Civil rights is not even an issue that you could take to the UN. And what do I mean by that? I told you when I started in school, we was Negroes. And Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. Then we became colored. Colored is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. Now we're talking about colored. Because you know when we talk about colored and when we talk about civil rights and the Civil War, then we're talking something different than what we hear. Because when you say that you Negro, and I have a lot of brothers that I have a problem with, because I remember when we talking about the civil rights movement, civil rights is an issue that cannot even go to the UN. You can't take the civil rights issue to the United Nations because civil rights is a non-political issue. It's an issue that is given to you and known as granted privilege. So they gave the Negro and the colored a granted privilege. Now, Brother Martin Luther King, we just talking about him recently. When Martin Luther King formed the NAACP, which is National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So what we're doing there, we're asking for a granted privilege. We're asking the government to give us some play. We're telling the government that you call me Negro, you call me colored, and now you call me black. And the only black flag I know is the one that kill roaches. So when you call me black, you too is separating me from the constitutional foe. Because if we went into Spain in 711 as Moors and stayed there until 1492 as Moors, then where did this colored and black come from? Because Noble Ali, when he came on the scene, he brought us something that nobody else bought. And what did he bring us that nobody else bought? He brought us a divine constitution and bylaws. We have an Act 6 and we have an Act 7. You add them up, you get 13. But I want to give you Act 6 because this is what Noble Ali gave the Moors. He gave us Act 6 of our divine constitution and bylaws. And it goes on this wise. Act 6, it said, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. Because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, not the present day Moabites, the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. So this is what Noble Ali brought us, coming from the great God Allah. He brought us a nationality to hook us back up with the families of nations. Because if we call ourselves black, and you know as well as I know, the only black flag that I know is the one that kills roaches. But I want to share something with you. I got so much to talk about because I've been talking all day. But there is a friend of mine that I've met, and he lived right here in Portland, Oregon. And he gave me a lesson. He said that the prophet said that we have some descendants of Adam and Eve. And he said the descendants of Adam and Eve are Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and the beast. And I'm looking right here, and it's talking about Lucifer. And as it's talking about Lucifer, it has different definitions. One of the definitions is friction. Another definition is a bearer of light. So let's look at Satan. Satan is the accuser, a wicked one. That's another definition. Then it said devil. Devil is clever, want to tear up something, is evil. Then it said dragon. When you say dragon, you're talking about a snake, you're talking about a serpent, you're talking about a lizard, and you're talking about a snake. Then we talking about the beast. And when you talk about the beast, you're talking about a bull-headed one, you're talking about oppressed one and a brutal one. And the reason why I said that is when Noble Drew Ali came on the scene, he gave us some principles. He gave us love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which are attributes of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. This is opposed to what we have been taught. So when you begin to call yourself black, what you are doing is you're separating yourself outside of the constitutional fold. When you call yourself black, you're dealing with a granted privilege. You're dealing with something that somebody gave you. Because when you was first born, or when you first went into Spain, which is in 711, when we first went there, we was Moors. And we was Moors because we was living the principles that was given to us. But Noble Drew Ali had to come. Allah sent him. Allah sent him with a methodology that's conducive to our growth and our development. So this is why Allah sent Noble Drew Ali to this earth. Not just to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nation of Europe, who was governing the portion of Palestine at that time, but he sent him to redeem us from our sinful ways. Because it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. Now let's talk about something. Right here, it talked about when was the head of Satan taken off. And the lesson say 1453 Byzantine, and it say by whom? It say by Muhammad. So now we see 1453. And when we see 1453, we see 1453 Byzantine. And it say by whom? It say by Muhammad. But I remember the Moors, because I was there. We fought with the Ottoman Turks to restore the Islamic creed. So if we did that in 1453, then you got to understand that, that the last stronghold of the Moors fell in the Granada, Spain in 1492. So when the last stronghold of the Moors fell in Granada, Spain in 1492, this was before the end of the slave trade. In 1492, the Moors were still in Spain. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? To save the Israelites. So now we have a lesson that we need to talk about. I'm looking at our literature, and it tells me that March 2nd, 1956, Morocco got its independence from under the French rule. But when we begin to talk about Morocco getting its independence from under the French rule, now France, and when you begin to talk about Moors going into Spain, we're talking about two different lessons altogether. We're talking about two different lessons because it don't apply. Because the slave trade in 711 and 1492 put us in a different category. Because right now, we're not who our forefathers were. We was Negro, we was colored, and we was black. So now they have something called the Vatican Square. They took my Jesus. They buried my Jesus in Vatican Square. And when they buried him in Vatican Square, what did they do? They took on the name. They buried Jesus in Vatican Square and took on the name. But when I look at these books that I be reading, they're teaching us about Jesus. They're teaching about Jesus' mother Mary. But they was teaching about Mary's mother, Anna, and her father was Joachim. And it's kind of strange that I'm saying this because when they talk about Mary and when they begin to talk about Jesus, and they saying that Jesus, who is the Son of God, and they saying that Mary was a Hebrew. But I'm trying to look at this. If Mary is a Hebrew, because I'm looking at our president of the United States. And our president of the United States, Biden, saying that he is a Jew. But we also know that when you begin to talk about Jewish, we know that you have Asia and you have Europe. The whole world was called Asia at one time. At that time, Europe was not even in existence. So now I'm looking at the book, and the book telling me about Europeans. And when the book tells me about European, I'm looking about European nations. And if we're talking about European nations, how can a European nation be Jew? How can European nation be Jewish? Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So we outside of the constitutional fold. Every time we call ourselves other than who our forefathers were, we're outside of the constitutional fold. Now, when I say the Germans, or when I say the Dutch, or when I say the Portuguese, or when I say the French, or when I say anything in reference to what I just said, you talking about a European nation. You took my forefathers, you buried them in Vatican Square, you took on my name, now you got me calling myself other than who I am. You telling me that you giving me a granted privilege. You're giving me some things that really have nothing to do with us as a people. So now let's look at Europe. When you begin to talk about the slave trade, you're talking about the European nations. And the reason why you're talking about the European nations when you're talking about the slave trade, because you stole my birthright. Now you say that you are a Jew. You say that you's a German. You say that you's a German now, but you saying that you're a Jew. You can't be both of them, because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Now, we're looking into the Moorish Science Temple of America that was founded by the Holy Prophet Noble Jew Ali for our earthly and our divine salvation. And when you begin to look at the European nation, you're looking at every dark ages. You're talking about what is your nationality, and you're talking about what is your nationality of those who call themselves white. Because everybody have a nationality on this side planet mud. But through the slave trade, they took yours from you and they took mine from me. I remember years ago, I was given a lesson by one of my instructors. And one of the lessons that instructor of mine gave me was that I was who my forefathers were. And I couldn't be anything other than that. And that was Negro, colored, or black, because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders. Then he says 1779 and lasts until 1865. So when you look at 1779 and when you begin to look at 1865, then you're talking about during the time of slavery. I remember my brother, Dr. R. James Bey. I remember when this brother joined the Moorish Science Temple of America. And when he first joined the Moorish Science Temple of America, he was a Masonic brother, a brother in a Masonic order. And Noble Jew Ali told him, he said, take off that fez. Because the one that you have is tied down 33 1/3. So take off that fez and put this one on. Then there was other brothers that was in the Moorish Science Temple of America that was wearing theirs. only one. And Noble Drew Ali did what he did for a reason. Noble Drew Ali, anything this brother did, he did for a reason. He had, now let me share you what I mean by that, because we need to look at this, because brothers now are talking. And they are talking about when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was on the scene. See, we have to understand that. And when Noble Drew Ali was on the scene, there was brothers and sisters that was in the Moorish Temple of America, because we have to realize that what Drew Ali did and what Drew Ali told us. So he told us something that he didn't tell everybody. Noble Drew Ali, like I said, he told my man to take off that take off that fez that had these signs and symbols on them and don't put it on no more. But then they said that there was a brother that Drew Ali told him to keep it on. I don't blame him, because what's going on now and then was affecting us as a people. And what do I mean by that? Because brother told me recently that the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali disbanded the Supreme Grand Council. And why did he disband the Supreme Grand Council? Was because there was a lot of brothers and sisters that was telling the prophet, it shouldn't go this way. It shouldn't go that way. It should go this way, and it should go that way. He said, I'm the prophet. I was sent by the great God Allah to warn you of your sinful ways and to warn you of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So follow the prophet, and you'll be good, and be good Moors. I wanted to say that, and I needed to say that, because when we begin to look in Spain and look at the Hebrews and look at the Hebrew Israelites, when we first went into Spain, we went into Spain as Moors. We talking about nationality. But when we went into Spain, we went in there as Israelites. We went in there as Hebrews. And this is something that can't nobody take away from you, because the European nations have taken it away. But you and I, this is dealing with the Atlantic slave trade. And when you're dealing with the Atlantic slave trade, what are you doing? What are you doing with the Atlantic slave trade? You taking something from me and you giving it to somebody else. Now, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery. Due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So what is the gods of Europe of whom we knew nothing? Because I said earlier that the whole world was called Asia one time. The whole world was called Asia at one time. At that time, Europe was not even in existence. Europe came about later on. This is why when Allah sent Noble Drew Ali, he sent Drew Ali to redeem us from our sinful ways. He sent Drew Ali to teach us about our forefathers' divine and national principles, that we may learn to love instead of hate. Let me share this. Drew Ali said something. He says, some of my greatest followers are in the church. Now, what did Drew Ali mean by some of his greatest followers are in the church? Because when I joined the Moorish Temple, I went places, and I seen a lot of brothers, and I seen a lot of sisters that eating pork chops and eating everything else. But Drew Ali knew what he was doing, because Drew Ali said, I'm getting ready to leave now. He said, I'm getting ready to leave because they coming for me. And when they come for him, that means he would no longer would be in existence. They got rid of the prophet. Your sister told me in Moorish Home #1. She said, Brother Hurd and Muhammad Nelson Bey and all them, Sister Franklin Hill, all these Moors was there. And they was telling me the things that the prophet told them that was going to transpire after he was gone. So you got to understand, everybody talking about this Miller Hill, and everybody is talking about Kirkman Bay. Two brothers and sisters shouldn't have to come up. And they saying that after a few years that they had no records of certain brothers being a part of this body or certain brothers being a part of that body. But what took place was, and I remember that, and I'm looking at that, Because when Drew Ali was on the scene, when he disbanded the Supreme Grand Council, the reason why he done that, because they came to him. The Europeans came to him, sent one of the Moors to him, and said, man, try to get the prophet. Try to get the prophet to sell out. Try to get the sell out, and we can get this money. And the prophet had this brother to bring it up at the chamber and to mention, what had transpired. So they got rid of the prophet. When the prophet came back in 1928, when he came through Ellis Island, they asked him, where you at? Where do you get this from? Where did this lesson here? He said, I got it from Allah. He said, that's where it come from. I don't have nothing I need to write down. I'm just telling my people the truth about themselves and let them know from heaven alone are they to hope for good. So when we went into Spain, it's Moors. Not as Negro, black, and colored. Because Negro, black, and color wasn't even in existence at that time. And as I mentioned, there was a time when the whole world was called Asia. Europe was not even in existence. The whole world was called Asia. It said we're not Negroes, because Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. We're not colored. Colored is anything that has been stained, veined. And we're not black because black, according to science, means death. And the only black flag we know is the one that killed roaches. So right now, Drew Ali said there's but one supreme issue that our people need to use to redeem that which was lost. And what we need to do is proclaim our nationality. Everybody have a nationality except you and me. And if you call yourself Negro, colored, and black, a lot of people, when I went to school, I taught on that earlier. When I first went to school, we was Negroes, then we was colored. Then they killed Martin Luther King in 1968. And when they killed Martin Luther King in 1968, then we became black. They started calling us black and setting us outside of the constitutional fold. Because if you call yourself other than Moorish, look at that. Everybody needs to look at this. When you first went to school, you was Negro, you was colored, and then you was black. And the only black flag I know is the one that killed roaches. So when Noble Drew Ali come on the scene, he came with a different methodology. He came to give us something that was taken away from us in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during this time of slavery. So now he gave us some tools of the workshop of the mind. And these tools of the workshop of the mind, there were some other ones over here, Lucifer, Satan, Devil, Dragon, and Beast. But these tools of the workshop of the mind was where things are made of thought and where we build up character. So we're talking about building up character in the Moorish Science Temple of America because you are who your forefathers were. You are not Negro, you are not colored, you are not black. And as I reiterated, in early 19th century, when Noble Drew Ali, before he left the scene, he told us about nationality hooking us back up with the family of the nation. So all of my brothers, I'm looking in the East. I'm looking at the actors. I'm looking at all of these great people, but you call yourself black now. When we first went into slavery, the Moors, in 711, we was Moors. Let me reiterate that. When the Moors first went into slavery in 711, and we stayed there until 1492, when we first went into Spain, we was Moors. Negro didn't exist. Colored didn't exist. Black didn't exist. The only black flag I know is the one that killed roaches. So I'm listening to the brothers now. And everybody's talking about this Moor over here and that Moor over there. But what did the prophet say? What did the holy prophet Noble Drew Ali say? Because everybody want to be in charge. Everybody want to be head of the slave trade. Because that's who we are. We are still enslaved. We are slave to sin. That's what Drew Ali say. He says it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. And what are the principles that delude to slavery? As Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast, which are the attributes of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. So this is why Allah sent Jew Ali, to redeem us from our sinful ways. He sent Noble Jew Ali because Noble Jew Ali is the only American-born prophet. Tell me another one. All of us, we are Negro, we're colored, and we are black. That makes us slaves to sin, because it is a sin for any group of people to violate these laws. And all of us that's right here in America today, we are part of the Atlantic slave trade. When you talk about the Atlantic slave trade, what you're talking about? I mentioned earlier when they say they took Jesus and buried Jesus in Vatican Square. And when they buried Jesus in Vatican Square, they took on the name. That's why in the church today, you don't hear Mary's mother Mary, Anna. You don't hear Anna's name nowhere. You don't hear Joachim's name nowhere. And when you're talking about Joachim, then you're going to have to talk about Boaz. You're going to have to talk about Ruth, because this is the line genealogy from which we come. And this is what we need to look at as a people and start questioning yourself, asking yourself, man, how did I become black? How did I become Negro? How did I become colored? Because everybody in their right mind know that when we first went into Spain to give Europe civilization, that's why we went into Spain. We went in Spain to give Europe civilization, to bring them out of the dark ages. One of the first things we say that we will do when we go on to Spain was tell Europe to come out of the dark ages. And right now, our brothers and our sisters is so far into the dark ages because we have taken on the concepts, we have taken on the ideologies of the European nation. We're licking, we're sucking, and we're doing all those things that's diametrically opposed to what our forefathers brought us. But that's why Drew Ali came. Drew Ali came to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us. And Drew Ali said that. He said he's going to make the Europeans enforce his law. He said that. And we need to understand that most of the nations today, I was listening to a program, and they had some people on the program that was from parts of Africa. And those that was from certain parts of Africa, they wasn't even calling themselves Africans no more. They might call themselves Egyptians. But we know when you talk about those from Egypt, they look just like me. If you tell me an Egyptian that's light-hued and look like a European, that you know that's dealing with the Atlantic slave trade. So what it is right now, we need to come together and get ready for these babies that's coming up. It's all about the children. I remember this sister, Franklin Hill. Sister Franklin Hill was from Temple 21 in New York City. And she lived on Moorish Home number 1 for a while. See, she lived on there, and she was real close to another sister named Sister Tiggsville. And Sister Tiggsville was at Moorish Home number 2. Back in the day, this is where everybody got their clothes from. They got their clothes from Sister Tiggsville. But me, they asked me, what signs or where did I come? Well, back then it wasn't but 1 or 2 temples. There wasn't but 1 or 2 temples in the Moorish Temple of America. So they but one. We come out of Temple 13. That was in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was a lot of lessons that we're going to have to teach on that because of Miller Hill, Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Format Bay. These are lessons that we have to teach, but then you say Miller Hill, Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Format Bay, right? But then it say C. Kirkland Bay, F. Nelson Bay, J. Blakely Bay, the past Grand Sheik, Brother R. Loveville, and the present Grand Sheik, R. Jones Bay. They said, well, why do you give honor to this one? Because this is where I come up at. I come up right there. I mean, we on some other kind of time, but what we need to do is realize that if there's but one temple, one prophet and one nation, and some of us didn't like some of the stuff that was going on over here, so they went on and done their thing. Drew Ali said every subordinate temple under the grand major temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs as long as they're in conjunction with the laws of the holy prophet and the temple. So that means that all of us, I don't care where you at in the world, you need to stay under that one temple that the prophet left. Don't go nowhere else. Stay right there where the prophet left it, because he said that he's going to make the Europeans enforce his law. And the prophet is the last prophet in these days and time. Allah sent him to redeem us from our sinful ways. And this is what makes life so beautiful. What makes life so beautiful, Allah say whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, he will send one. So now, let me go back to this other lesson, because we was talking recently about the prophet teaching us, telling us that some of his greatest followers are in the church. I like that. I like him saying that, because when he says some of his followers are in the church, they're talking about Jesus. They are talking about Muhammad. They are talking about Buddha. They are talking about Confucius. They are talking about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the lessons that they are taught, but someone took my birthright, buried me in Vatican Square, took on my birthright. So now everybody want to be Jesus. Everybody want to be somebody other than who they are. So now if we talk about Jesus, you're going to have to understand that somebody stole your birthright. Somebody want to claim Jesus, but you got to understand that if you're talking about Europe, if you're talking about Europe, when Noble Drew Ali came on the scene, the concepts and the ideologies of Europe was not even in existence. And this is what our purpose is in the Moorish Science Temple of America. The purpose, for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? And the book say, for the uplifting of fallen humanity. And how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. Who are you? I'm an Asiatic Muslim. Why are you Asiatic Muslim? I'm Asiatic, but there are but two formulations, Asiatic and European. And I'm sure not European, and I'm Muslim because I submit my will to Allah. And how do you submit your will to Allah? You submit your will to Allah by living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We love our brothers and sisters. Tell them the truth, that they live in peace, have freedom, and justice will come to us all. The lesson of the day is to the sister. The sister is the first teacher. They say when you uplift the brother, you uplift the individual. They say, but when you uplift the sister, you uplift the nation, because through her womb, humanity comes. I remember 125 in one of these books that came from the prophet, one of the Cook Bays was talking. And in the lesson that he was giving all of us, he talked about Mary, see? And when he talked about Mary, and when he talked about Elizabeth, then Drew Ali was talking about two. He had two wives. Drew Ali said, I got two wives, and you will have two as many as you could take care of. The sister Franklin Hill lived on the colony and was Moorish home number 1. She told me that I should marry her. She's an old sister, elder sister. And what she meant is to take care of her. That's why we had these different colonies. They had this all across the country. They had different colonies that we had so we could take care of our elders. Let them teach Sunday school, because the first teacher is the sister. Because the brothers, we have taken on concepts and we have taken on ideology. I remember when I first went to school, when I first grew up, certain things in Europe we wasn't doing. Certain things brothers and sisters wasn't doing. All my friends, they was older than me. But certain things that they wasn't doing. Certain things belonged to the European nation, not us. And what we need to do, sisters, we need to teach these lessons to our little ones. Teach the babies. You are the first teacher. Teach these lessons to the children. Because if the children don't get the lesson, because you're the first teacher, then we keep on having these troubles that we have. That's why Drew Ali said, through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah. He debased himself. And when you are not living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, then you done debase yourself from the great God Allah. So now you have brothers and you have sisters. See, certain things that, you know, a lot of brothers say they have this lesson or they have that lesson, but most of the lessons are given from mouth to ear. Most of the things that the brothers and sisters have that the prophet gave us is from mouth to ear. It's not right out there. You know, a many are called, a few are chosen, and some were sent. And Drew Ali say only a many and only a few. So we're going to have to learn that we're going to have to follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain, no unknown. How do we follow the prophet? By living the prophet's law. See, I have this book I just read right here, and it's talking about the dragon, it's talking about the beast, it's talking about Lucifer, and I come to find out that all of that is inside of me. When we talk about Lucifer, that's inside of you. When you talk about Satan, that's inside of you. When you talk about the dragon, that's inside of you. And when you're talking about the beast, that's inside of you. These are attributes that we have to overcome to become one with our Father, God Allah. See? Because Drew Ali was sent to us. He was sent by the great God Allah to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath. Now, what is the wrath? What is the wrath of Allah? The wrath of Allah is those things that we are doing that's diametrically opposed to what the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us. Noble Drew Ali was sent by Allah to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath, see, which is sure to come upon the earth. And what is the wrath? What is the wrath that's going to come upon the earth? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harm. So when Drew Ali come on the scene, he said, I came and I brought you your nationality and I brought you your divine creed. And he said, ain't no such thing as the national side. Ain't no such thing as the national side. There's two sides. There's a national side and there's a divine side. Drew Ali brought us both of them. That's why I just quoted Act 6. I quoted Act 6 of our a divine constitution and bylaws. And Act 6 tells us all these things. And I quoted Act 6. But then we also have Act 7. So there's two sides. It's a national and international. I see a lot of people have these flags. These flags that I see people flying, but there's only two flags that Noble Drew Ali bought us. He bought us the national flag, and he bought us the other flag, which is the American flag. We have American flag, and we have the Moorish flag. See, the Moorish flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. And the 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So now, when you talk about your American flag, then you have a Moorish flag too. And the Moorish flag is the red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. And the 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. Who are you? I'm Asiatic Muslim. Why are you Asiatic Muslim? I'm Asiatic Muslim because there's but two formulations, Asiatic and European. And I'm sure not European. And I'm a Muslim because I submit my will to Allah. And how do you submit your will to Allah? You submit your will to Allah by living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Who are you? You say you're Asiatic Muslim. So if you're Asiatic Muslim, then you know that you're not European. Man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extend beyond the great universal Allah himself. I was looking to the news. And when I'm looking at the news, they're talking about China. And they're talking about how the Chinese is messed up with the way that the United States government is carrying the rest of the world. But I'm looking at China again. And I'm looking at the writings that I have, and I see that the Chinese made a statement. Chinese say, man, we heard about these Moors, but we investigated them and we did our research. And we come to find out that these Moors, we come from them. They said that when you begin to talk about the foundation, because you already said the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. He said it was the Roman nation that founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth, for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So the Chinese understand. They know what then transpired. They know what took place in 711. They know what took place in 1492. And this is why they messed up. They can't say nothing. But they know that in 711, this is when the slave trade came through. See, you have to understand this. And it's very important that you do. When you begin to talk about the Moors going into Spain, giving everybody civilization, because that's where it comes from. When you look at all, it comes from the Moors. Now, we have to understand that when you two talk about the advent of slavery, and you begin to look at your history, because sometimes we say North Africa or this part of Africa, but when you begin to talk about this slave trade, and when all these things came into its manifest, it came into manifest through the Moors. Because the Moors gave you a civilization, brought them out of the Dark Age. They took everything. Everything that you and I have has been taken away from you. Now, we looking like somebody else and acting like somebody else. Have no idea of who we are or who our forefathers were. We're doing some things that our fathers and mothers had no idea it would ever come in thought that we would even move this way. Because as I said, when you begin to look at our brothers and our sisters today, I was in a meeting this morning with a few sisters and brothers. I didn't even recognize the sisters because they had this stuff on their eyes and they look crazy. They don't look. And I remember my family. I had an aunt, and most of them were born at 18-something, you know, but they had a character. They had a moral and clean life. And this is what we're going to have to bring back manifest, but the first teacher going to have to be the sister. You're going to have to get these little sisters because the first teacher is the sister. The sisters had the moral and clean life. Certain things that our mothers and our fathers wouldn't do. That was the last thing that we wouldn't do. And certain things that your mother tell you or your grandmother tell you to do, and we done them. Why? Because right now, you and me, we're European. Most of us is European. How do we become European? Through thought pattern. We talking about a thought pattern now. We're talking about Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And these are lessons that we must look up. We have to look at these attributes. We have to look at the attributes of Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, beast of burden. And we have took on all these concepts and we took on them from the European nations of Europe. Because when we went into Spain, we was Muslims. I didn't say Muslim, we was Muslim. And we taught those things necessary to make our men and women better citizens. And this is what Noble Drew Ali did when he was sent to this earth by Allah. So now we're talking about a prophet. We're talking about a prophet in these days and time. And when you're talking about a prophet, the first thing that you're going to have to say when you talk about a prophet is, why did Allah send Noble Drew Ali to this earth? And it said to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So a lot of times, all times are not alike. Women don't teach best sometimes. Sometimes man teach best. Sometimes woman teach best. In this era of time, the first teacher is the sister. So you got this thing. See, the sister is the one, because right now, man, our sisters is on everything. They doing things that's diametrically opposed to what people never had in their mind that would ever come into existence. We're Europeans. We act like Europeans. We lustfulness. We're doing everything that's contrary to what our forefathers brought us. This is why I always teach on it. Whenever you hear him talking about Jesus, you never hear him talking about Jesus' mother, Jesus' grandmother, Anna. You never hear him talking about that. And the reason why, because that gives them less to talk about. Because everybody know that you done stole my birthright. You done took my sister Anna, you done took Mary, and as I said, it's in the book. I posted earlier the week. When I get ready to come on the show, I usually post certain things. I usually post certain things hoping that people will look at it. And when you look at it, I sent it to my nephew. When you look at it, you don't see him talking about Anna. You don't hear him talking about Joachim. You talking about Bethlehem of Judea in the house of David, but you don't hear him talking about our forefathers. And this is what we need to understand. Charity begins at home. Charity don't begin abroad. And how we begin to teach the people to be themselves. We need to tell the people about their higher self and their lower self, because the higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that breathes justice, mercy, love, and right. So in our Sunday school, let the teachers, them sisters, continue to teach. Let them teach them babies, because our children need to know the truth about themselves. They need to know about their higher self and their lower self, because the higher self is the mother of virtue. We're talking about virtues now, and we're talking about the harmonies of life. And these harmonies of life breathe justice, mercy, love. It say, can the higher self pass away? Say no. Say why? Because it is a law in man. Allah is in man. So I always honored to be able to come to talk to you about the last prophet in these days and time, and I will complete this lesson next week. I recite the Moorish prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Jew Ali. Amen.